So I'm pretty sure all of us have had experiences with difficult people, let it be in our personal lives, family, at work, with colleagues or members in management, whatever. I stumbled upon a short by a guy named Jimmy on relationships, and he pretty much does shorts. This is the content by him I have seen, in which he plays two parts. And I like how he breaks down common things that we hear and behaviors that we see exhibited by other people, because sometimes when you're going through it yourself, you don't realize that you're dead ass being emotionally abused until, I guess, it's over or the consequences of it continue to cripple you. And I gotta say that I have experienced all of the things that he has described at some point. I just thought that I would share it with you guys and play one of his shorts, and then I'll stop and give you my own input on how I have related to this, because I'm happy to see content like this that reminds me of things that I have gone through, but it's refreshing to see that it's stuff that I have gotten over and that ultimately I was right. I was right at feeling the way I was feeling. I was also right at calling things out to the individuals involved the way I was, but them taking a defensive stance wasn't a me problem. It was a them problem. And I'm also happy to report that even with those folks, at some point they saw it. And I don't need them to credit me for them improving on that type of thing. I'm just glad that whether that happened in their own personal processing time or somebody else served as their tertiary source to receive this info, they got there. I had to suffer, but they got there. So maybe me having my strong character and not just bending to their way of being, confronting them and planting that seed, served as the catalyst, even if I wasn't the direct force responsible for that change. This one is entitled Top 10 Invalidating Phrases.
Number 10, you're imagining things. Oh, good. Gaslighting and invalidation, my least favorite collab. Number 9, I don't see what the problem is. Well, the problem is...
With the first one, I remember the imagining things not being described exactly as I'm imagining things, but rather I was accused of being someone who exaggerates things. And I'm like, no, my exaggeration maybe is a reflection that the things that you're doing, saying, not doing, and not saying are leading to what you're describing as an exaggeration. And another thing I heard is, I never had these problems until I met you. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry that the people who surrounded you in your life, or the people who you picked to surround you in your life, never challenged you. When you go a long time without being challenged, you become very, I guess, conformist to how the flow of your life is, to the point that the slightest disruption, the slightest little pebble can represent a big wedge on how your river flows. Well, the problem is you refuse to...
So you refuse to listen to understand what I'm saying, and you keep interrupting, saying, I don't see what the problem is.
That is something I experienced a lot of. The interruptions, the interjections, and it always felt like every time I was getting ready to finally say the point that could clarify everything, culminate everything, the person also did not know how to listen. And I think this is a person who struggles with listening because they have a weird anxiety about what comes next. And this can be manifested as well in how they react to other things. How do they react to bad news that they're getting ready to have? How do they react to a surprise expense? How do they react to bad news that catch them completely off guard? It turns out this is something that may come from their time with their parents. If your parents never really sat down with you to expose you to difficult situations and help you navigate through it, but instead they took more of a defensive stance, and it was nothing but offense and offense and offense toward another person, especially in the case of divorcing parents or divorced parents. I feel like that is what may plant the seed for this kind of behavior. And I always hated having to tell somebody that if you shut up and listen, you will grasp this. I, as a student, never had those issues. I could just sit there, absorb the lesson, as I have always described myself to be the absorber, even in social settings. Do more listening and not as much talking. Sometimes, when someone is going off on you, maybe that is your time to listen, no matter how badly you want to say something, how badly you want to bat something back at them, and how badly you want to roast them and prove them wrong and argue with them and whatever the fuck. Just don't. Just sit there, take it, and listen. Another thing that I have heard before is that I talk too much. I talk for prolonged periods of time. And I'm like, you gotta decide. I cannot be someone who talks too much or someone who talks too little. When it's my turn to speak, I make it count. If it takes me 3 hours to express myself, for 3 hours, you sit there and you take it. If you care. I have done that. It's always a rewarding experience because it shows that you're present, you're attentive, and that you're legit devoted. But if you always feel like you gotta rush to get yourself out of this conversation, that is immaturity on your part, period. And then, of course, when you start interjecting, then I'll start telling you to shut up, to wait, to listen, to give me a second. But then at that point, I'm fighting harder to get you to give me the floor back, for the spotlight to come back to me because I wasn't done. And by then, I may have lost my train of thought. In a sense, it's almost like they're trying to intimidate you into not talking anymore. It almost felt like. And to me, again, that is just a sign of utter immaturity and nothing else. Because then that's going to tempt me into competing with you at me getting my spot back. If you do that to me a lot, if you have a habit of continuously interrupting me, I catch myself becoming an interrupter because I know how you are. And now, unfortunately, my style of being a good listener is now being disrupted because I know that with you, I gotta have a quick reflex skill because you're not a good listener, but you love to talk. But when you talk, the things that you say are wrong. And if I don't stop you, I may lose your engagement. It's just a very difficult, unpleasant situation to be in. So I think at that point, the most important thing is urging that person to learn to be comfortable with A, difficult conversations, B, not being easily offended, and C, learn to listen. If you have to be like, okay, I'm gonna let them talk and then resume this conversation, but the next time it'll be my turn, then so be it. But sometimes my trigger of saltiness with this matter is when you say that we're gonna come back to this topic and we never fucking do. And then I bring it up again because it's not something that has been addressed properly and concluded properly. And you get mad because you're saying, you're bringing this shit up again. I thought we were done. No, we were not done. Saying I don't see what the problem is.
Number 8, why are you ruining a good day? I'm sorry.
Oh, this is something that I got from pretty much everybody I know in my life. I was having a perfectly great day. I was having fun. I just came back from being with my friends, from being with my family, from being with my so-and-so, all of that. But now I come here to this and now I'm annoyed. Or we just came back from doing this, that, and the other, and I can't believe that, like I just said, this is what you're bringing up. And I'm like, what part of this is so important that it keeps my peace from me? Thus, it needs to be addressed with urgency. Do you not understand? I think, again, that is a lack of maturity on the other person's part, as opposed to the person who's urging to have a proper conclusion to this matter. And for me, I was always the one who was eager to continue the conversation because, like I have shared here before, I thrive on these difficult topics, difficult times, because these are the ones that establish a strong foundation. But if the reaction that you're giving me is one of constant dismissal and belittling, not only are you being emotionally abusive, but you're also ensuring that we can never build up, build firmly, build stronger from this. I'm sorry I tried to share something that was on my heart.
I tried to share something that was on my heart. Won't happen again. Number 7. That sounds like a you problem.
The you problem is one of the pettiest ones, in my opinion, because again, it's all about invalidation. And at that point, invalidation becomes belittling, belittling becomes humiliation, and humiliation is simply not a positive experience. It's not a nice thing to do. It's not something that's impacting you in a way that can help you become closer with someone, or in a way that shows that you even respect that person.
Awesome. Number 6. You're so sensitive. Wow.
I heard the one about sensitivity a lot, and it turns out that I wasn't even being the one who's sensitive. The reactionary person was the person being sensitive. Because again, I am not the one who has issues going into these kinds of conversations. I'm not the one who has issues going into these unpleasantries. I can thrive in these. But if you are saying that this is a me problem and nothing else, it's like, well, if it's a me problem and I'm the problem, then as the problem, I'm trying to converse about it to have it addressed. But here you are taking nothing but a defensive stance. And I don't know about you guys, but defensiveness is something that little kids do, because little kids don't like to be in trouble, because being in trouble usually means that they'll lose something. They'll be grounded from something. I would expect that as an adult, given how important for your mental function relationships are, I would expect that you prioritize those and that you treat them with dignity and respect. But some people don't. And I guess it's easy for someone who doesn't care about you deeply, someone who's not committed to you, to feel compelled to make things right. And at that point, that's when you gotta develop what I lacked for the longest time, which was the strength to summon your authority and ask for that clown to leave. There's nothing more beautiful, if you ask me, than a person who's very receptive. And sometimes receptiveness comes with sensitivity. There's two kinds of sensitivities that I can think of that I personally manifest. I have that sensitivity about this is a serious discussion, this is a serious topic, this person is ill, this person is mourning, this and that. Let me put on the behavior that's suitable for that kind of situation. Or with a customer, we messed up, what tone should I use? What is the repair course we should take? I guess you could say appeasement course. But then the other side of sensitivity is also the one that's where you kind of let go of yourself and how you are, because you can sense what other people are going through and you can morph into what they need, but without neglecting yourself. I think that the sensitivity that is negative is often the one where, let's say that you say something about how I have been gaining weight. And let's say that I'm someone who's sensitive about weight, or other people are sensitive about height. I think that kind of sensitivity is the petty one. I don't think that one should exist. And that's not a sensitivity that I have. If you tell me that my hair is thinning and falling out, you are right. I'm not gonna deny it. I'm not gonna be offended by that. But I don't necessarily hope that you say those things just because they don't offend me, because I don't go around talking about other people's bodies. I don't want you to be talking about my body. You don't have that authority. But there's also the sensitivity, and this is the one that frustrates me the most that I see in others, which is the sensitivity about what you're talking about. If you're talking about something that may be a recommendation on somebody else for their performance to improve with something that's not bringing you pleasure or whatever, then they're sensitive about that, because you cannot question how a person is. You cannot try to change how a person is. I'm just telling you that there's some things that I like and there's some things that I don't like. And I don't want to have to live with what I don't like for the rest of my life. I'm just letting you know that it's not necessary. For instance, buying me flowers. That was one of the first things I ever told my boyfriend to please never spend money on for me because I don't value flowers. And please don't waste time on them because I feel bad that they're gonna die on me within the day because I don't know how to care for them. And they attract insects. The two sensitivities I exhibit are the ones in which I can be mindful of what kind of presence I will bring to someone who's going through something, or I can be the one who morphs into a support character for someone who may need it. One is about how I behave in the presence of someone who's not doing very well, adaptability. And then the other one is if action is required of me, or if I'm empowered to take action to assist somebody going through something bad, I can do that. I can be selfless and I can morph into that support character. I feel so valued and respected.
Feel so valued and respected. Number 5, your feelings aren't my problem. No, they're not. I was kind of hoping that you cared about how your words impacted me, but maybe.
Exactly. So that is true. Your feelings are your feelings, but if you are involved with someone, invested in someone, my feelings, I would expect, become something that matter to you, important to you. Now, don't allow for my feelings to manipulate you to spell out how you feel. Like, say, if I'm the one who's in pain, then I don't want you to feel sad that I'm in pain, but just understand that I'm in pain and I may require a little bit of your assistance here and there. I don't want to learn that I'm representing a burden to you, but just know that just because I'm going through negative feelings, it doesn't mean that you have to share negative feelings with me, like feel my feelings with me. Or if I'm miserable, I don't expect you to be miserable along with me. But just understand that because I'm in that mindset, I may not be ecstatic about some things that you may be ecstatic. But just because I'm not, it doesn't mean I don't care. I think that's one that is also used as a weapon against you. Because when I was at my most severely depressed, I was told that I bring the mood down because my mood is down. And I'm like, I'm sorry that I'm not a fake ass bitch who's going to act happy, placate you because you hanging out with a sad person is something that you can't handle. It's something that offends you. And that was incredibly painful because, again, these came from people who I thought were there to be loving and kind and caring, comforting, but quite the opposite. For these people, it seemed like their good time was more important than, I guess, checking in with me and being like, hey, I know you're melancholic. How about if we try something new today? Or what do you think could make today go better for you? Anything. You could have handled that any number of ways, but no. You had to dwell on how I look, like what I feel. I'm projecting my real feelings. I'm not going to be smiling if I'm not happy, if I'm not feeling well, right? But instead, you're like, oh man, I just hate that you're looking like that, feeling like that, therefore I'm gonna take you home. Like, what kind of weak, sick bastard are you that unless the other person has your same spirit, your same energy, or if at least they're not faking it, you're not able to be present in their lives? And that's when I agree with one of these sayings that I think it's kind of cringe, but I kind of like it sometimes, and it's, you don't deserve me at my best if you can handle me at my worst. Well, I look at it as, if you can't stand me during my moments of adversity, then during my moments of triumphs, don't show up. But maybe not. Number 4.
Not number 4. You're making a big deal about nothing. You know, it could be worse.
Making a big deal about nothing is something that I heard a lot of too over the years, because you guys know me. I like to think, I like to go deep. There is no limit to me. Just because I'm going deep with something, it doesn't mean that I'm trying to make it a big deal and blow it out of proportion. I'm simply trying to illustrate to you that that matter can go in this direction, another direction, another direction, another direction. All you have to do is dispel some things. All you have to do is neutralize some things. These are potential fires that could start. How about if you pre extinguish them before they're able to start a blaze? Because then what's going to happen is when the blaze finally begins, you're going to be shooketh that such thing is happening and that you had no idea. And here I am trying to express it to you, but because you don't listen, then you were clueless.
Who died and made you the judge of big deals? Not my best, but moving on. Number 3. Well, I'm sorry that you feel that way. All right.
Oh my God, the I'm sorry that you feel that way is not one that I hear directly very often, but I guess there's different ways of expressing it. Sometimes I feel like a person is saying that to be kind of sarcastic towards you and be like, well, I'm sorry that you think of it that way or that you feel it that way. And I'm like, no, you exhibited this behavior. You said these words and you did these things. Those things have consequences. The consequences, the impacts they had on me were these, and I am projecting them. I am expressing them, labeling them. You are not receiving them well because you're just in utter denial, unacceptance, dodginess, defensiveness, all those bullshit reactions. And I'm telling you that those reactions are only making the situation worse. Just listen. And if there's a misunderstanding, this is the opportunity to be like, oh, sorry that it happened like that. My intention was this, that, and the other, instead of this, and that. But while we're at this, what should I do differently to ensure that it doesn't lead to this? And then I'll be like, oh, well, I'm sorry that possibly I overreacted. I misunderstood you. Since it was a misunderstanding, we can leave it at that. Or if it needs further analyzing, then we further analyze. Why are people afraid of analyzing? Why are people afraid of questioning? Why are people afraid of being curious? I don't get it. Are sorry, it doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, sorry. Doesn't seem like it. Number 2. I was just kidding. Can't you take...
Oh my God, the I was just kidding, can't you take a joke? I remember one time somebody pissed me off big time because, of course, they were joking about something that was a delicate matter for me. The context of it is one that I journaled about, and I'm not really going to repeat it here, but basically, it's one of those things that you have described to someone that there's something that has sentimental value to you. Like, let's say that my little crown here is something that means a lot to me because let's pretend that it's some kind of heirloom that I got from like a great grandmother or something like that. And then I'm like, I like wearing my great grandmother's crown because when she wore it, it was when she displayed authority, control, and her demeanor was very formal, and I admired how she looked strong. And then all of a sudden, you say something like, well, that's what little girls wear when they're thinking that they're fictional princesses and Disney, pretty much. And then I'm like, you just took an object that to me had meaning and you completely took away that meaning, that value, that power. You disgust me. That's not exactly what happened with me, but it was something similar to that. Like something that is nothing material, not an object, it's just a virtue, a value that I really stand behind. And then you take it and you minimize it. You're going to bring the lioness out of me because that is incredibly disrespectful. And I bet that if I did that to you and I belittled your character, you're not gonna like it. But somehow I'm supposed to be accepting that it was just a joke. How about if you don't joke about things that someone has expressed to you are sacred, are meaningful? If I started to take your religion and I started to like pull it apart and make fun of it and say that it's stupid that people believe someone could walk on water. If that offends you, then perhaps you don't have the right to offend somebody else either with their beliefs. Let's say it's a man. If I began emasculating you, are you gonna like it? No, right? So don't defeminize me, whatever the fucking word that goes hand in hand with that is. Those little things. Can't you take a joke? I guess not.
A joke? I guess not, because I'm mad. Number one, why can't you just get over it? Probably because you never took accountability.
Exactly. That is another one that I would hear a lot. And basically, the way it was described to me, the way I was accused and crucified, was, why are you bringing back an old matter that I thought we moved on from? And I was like, well, it's because you continue to express this behavior, you continue to do this, you continue to disrespect me. You never said sorry, you never even accepted that what you did was wrong, even though it was evidently wrong. But ultimately, it did help when one person a long time ago did say that the things that I was bringing up were hurtful because it was stuff that they did that they weren't proud of. And I was like, well, this is news to me because you did do those things. And I never heard at least a little bit of a sorry, a little bit of an apology, a little bit of accountability. Then I just assumed that was you, that is who you are, what you are, and that you're proud of your behavior, and that therefore you don't feel the need to express that you understood how it was hurtful. Therefore, you took accountability and I was able to move on from it. If I don't move on from something, if I don't get over something, it's because I have not had that made right or I have not heard you own it. That's the whole reason why I'm still salty about my dad. That man has never said sorry. That man has never offered genuine, legit support. And when he does, he bails on those plans. He has never accepted the wrong things he has done, especially by being absent. When you do those things and you don't take accountability, yeah, that does fuck up people because that's why we have feelings and emotions.
Or validated how badly your actions hurt me. Just a thought.
Or validated the actions. Exactly. Invalidation. Invalidation is pretty much the one word that I could use to sum up how a lot of my psychological damage happened. Invalidation from my parents, invalidation from my managers, invalidation from my boyfriends, invalidation from friends, all of that. At least I'm glad that I ran into those issues because now I'm grateful for the person I am, for the way that I think. Those are the things that I needed to suffer through to make me invincible. It sucked that it happened when I was young and I have been super salty forever, but at least if so many people come to me looking for my perspective, point of view, opinion, and legit asking for feedback and advice from me, I must be doing something right. And I'm proud of that. Not everybody can say that. Not even people in their 40s, 50s, 60s. Even when I was a teenager, I was getting those things. So anyways, you guys, that's it. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this kind of review. This is nothing new, honestly. It's stuff that I have gone over respectively in different occasions all over the place in my channel, but it's nice to see that it's all coming back in a circle. Honestly, at this point, my channel, unless it's a brand new topic, a brand new title, brand new subject, more than likely, if you've been here for a while, you'll see how everything is just coming back in a massive circle. I've been noticing that about myself. I'm like, I have talked about this before. I have thought about this before. I have discussed this before, gone through this before. It's like deja vu all the time. But at least the good thing about the circle is that when you're at the start of the circle, there really isn't detail, there isn't definition. But as you finish the loop and you're getting ready to close it, you're noticing refinement. If you try to draw the circle without any assistance, it's going to be crooked. But if you draw a circle, after multiple tries, you're going to notice that maybe you'll use a shadow behind the page to assist you, or maybe you'll take a cylindrical object to assist you, but maybe it was the wrong size. So you decide to update it a little bit. Refinement. That's what it's about. Okay, that's it. Bye.